My husband and I got married 3 years ago. When I was a teenager, I was told that due to medical complications I may never be able to have children, but after 2 years of trying infertility treatments, I'm now halfway through my pregnancy with our miracle baby. Unfortunately, because of some complications, I had to cut back on my hours at work. It's very physical. My husband offered to pick up more hours to compensate, so he has been working a lot more in the past 2 months and coming home later. I couldn't see that anything was amiss. Things were the same as they've always been. He always brings home flowers, food, things for the baby, coffee. He's always sending me thoughtful and loving texts through the day. The gaps where he was unreachable were explainable. But this morning he sat me down and gave me news that rocked me. He told me he's been having an affair for the past 6 weeks and that his affair partner just found out that she's pregnant. He says that if she decides to keep the baby, she's going to raise it by herself, and that they mutually agreed to end the relationship already. He wants to make things right. I don't know how things can ever be right again. He just wants to move on from what he is calling his transgression. How do I ever forgive him? How do you deal with the unthinkable? How do I learn to live with the idea that my child's sibling might be out there somewhere someday? Most importantly, how do I learn to move on like he wants me to? Edit. I have an OB appointment for unrelated medical reasons tomorrow, at which I will make sure to request extensive testing. I have plans to meet with a lawyer on Monday. I'm talking to my sister to see if I can stay with her. My relationships with much of my family are fractious, but I have a pretty positive relationship with her. I will not be seeking other options other than having my baby due to being pretty far along and having been told in the past I would not conceive. Regardless of what my husband has done, I love my child. Edit 2. I saw my OB on Friday and will hopefully have some test results, fingers crossed for all negative, within the next few days. I will meet the lawyer tomorrow and go from there. My sister advised me to stay in the house that my husband and I co-own until I talk to a lawyer. This has been such an emotionally harrowing time for me. He's acting like everything is normal. All I want to do is sleep. I keep telling myself it'll be over soon. Relevant comments. Comment 1. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't be okay having a baby with a man who just abandoned one. OP's response. I keep coming back to this. It sounds like she's on the fence about the pregnancy, which is ultimately 100% her choice, but the ease with which he's willing to take the stance of just forgetting the whole thing happened is hard for me. I'm more than halfway through my pregnancy, 23 weeks, so I'm in a different position. Comment 2, was thinking the exact thing. I'm not getting that he has any fear of losing you. Why? Either he thinks you're easy to control, or not that bright, or desperate to stay his wife. Which is it? Why isn't he begging you to stay with him? Why does he feel you'll just go along with forgetting that he's cheated on you? OP's response. I think he knows that my initial reaction was going to be that yes, we could fix this, or that I would agree to make things right. I think that he knows that I have so much invested, emotionally, in this relationship. He is my first real love, my first everything really, and that I'm more likely to fight for what we have than to give it up. Even I'm surprised at how conflicted I feel. Update. Where to begin? First off, the other woman decided to terminate her pregnancy, which was confirmed to me by her. Talking to her was really weird and didn't answer a lot questions that I had for her. This is a person who knows me and has met me a number of times, and I just don't get it. The motivations on both sides don't make any sense to me, and I don't know if they ever will. It helped to learn there was no romantic feelings, but it was still confusing. Especially since I perceive my husband and I to have a healthy sex life, as often as 4 to 6 times per week, and I don't really get what's fun or exciting about leaving the boundaries of your marriage. We are in therapy, separately and together. Going separately is helping me to sort out a lot of my own feelings, but I think that going together is essential one way or another as well. He has been cooperative and participatory in therapy. I'm hopeful that we can figure at least some things out. We've had a lot of conversations about why it won't be easy for me to just forgive this and why I need answers and changes in behavior, and I do feel like I've been heard. Divorce is not completely off the table, but it's a hard situation to be in, especially in a vulnerable state like being pregnant. I've consulted with a lawyer and made my parameters clear to him, but for right now I want to try to work things out. I know this isn't the update that a lot of people probably hoped for, but for me I think this is the right choice. Thank you all for your words of encouragement, advice, and perspective. I definitely took a lot of things to heart and will remember them for a long time. It's very appreciated. Edit. I want to make it clear, since people seem confused, divorce is not off the table. What is off the table right now is trying to make a decision that will affect my life greatly when I'm already in an extremely vulnerable physical mental position without making an attempt at healing both on my own and with him. Even if we end up divorced in the end, allowing myself time means that things have a higher chance of being amiable and easier for all of us, especially our child. Update 6 months ago, my life was the best it has ever been. My husband and I had just found out that we were pregnant after IVF. Our relationship seemed happy and strong as it ever has. Just absolutely on top of the world. I found out he'd had an affair in mid-October where his AP had gotten pregnant as well. The AP terminated the pregnancy and I was prepared to work through things with him, even just to end up divorcing amicably. Then I found out that shortly before we got married he'd had another affair that I never found out about previous. I was devastated beyond devastation. He said some things to me that I will never forget or be able to forgive. I went into preterm labor at 26 weeks, which they were able to stop, but after 4 weeks I'm still having a lot of complications and I may have to deliver the baby early. My husband has been nasty and uncooperative since we fought. He hasn't come to see me in the hospital even once in 4 weeks. My life was incredible before all of this, before I knew about all of this. I wish I could go back to that. New update. I had been leaving little updates in this post, but I thought I would, finally, do one big update post in its own post. I think I'm finally getting better. I'm still sad. I still hurt. There are things that will take a really long time to get over. But in the time I've spent away from him I've come to value my freedom and myself as a person. He didn't come to see me in the hospital even once. He hasn't come to see our baby even once. We had a big fight shortly before I went into the hospital, over his infidelity, and if he didn't want to see me that's his business, but not coming to see the baby we fought so hard for is something else entirely. But it was a sign for me that I can do this. We can do this. I can do better for my daughter and for myself. I have a lawyer now and I'm moving forward with divorce proceedings. I know I will be okay. I don't have to rely on him for anything. I'm sad about how all of this happened. I wish it didn't happen. But I also know now that I can have a whole life beyond this, you know? Also, our baby was born a little more than 6 weeks early and is 10 days old now. She is still in the NICU, just getting a little bit stronger, but she's doing amazing and should be home by the end of this month. I can't wait to really start enjoying motherhood. Final comment: it's weird that his personality changed so completely in such a short time, or was he always a selfish aholi, and you somehow didn't see the red flags? Anyway, congrats on your baby, I wish you all the best. OP's response: in retrospect, there were signs. But the thing is that we had a giant fight after I found out about the second, actually first, affair, and when that happened, it was like something snapped. He said things to me I don't want to repeat and I could never forgive as long as I live. And when I didn't fold, he decided to punish me with this silent treatment, ignoring me whatever this is. I lived out our entire marriage as an exceptionally passive person. Gentle, endlessly forgiving, go with the flow. When I started to stand up for myself, the cracks started to show. But there were never problems before because I never made problems. On to the next story. This story also comes with an update. It's important to note that I'm 34F, a lesbian who isn't completely out, but I'm not completely in the closet either. I'm out when I'm with my close circle of friends. No, I don't live in a conservative area, it's just a personal thing and I have my reasons for keeping it this way at the moment. So I work with a guy, 31M. We've worked together for roughly 6 months. We aren't close, but I'd say we're work buddies. We don't follow each other on any socials, but we do chit-chat here and there at work about insignificant stuff. Our political views align, so that's mostly what we talk about when we do talk. Last week we were walking out of the building together at the end of shift and he asked me if I was single. We'd never really asked each other anything that personal before, so I was taken aback a bit. I've had plenty of men in my life hit on me and usually it's no big deal to let them know I'm not interested, but I've been single for almost a year now and I'll admit my relationship status is kind of a sensitive thing at the moment. I told him something along the lines of, sorry but I'm not interested. He stopped me and said he wasn't asking for himself. I was just trying to get to my car and leave work and I felt really annoyed at this point. I told him I wasn't going to hook up with his friend and I'd appreciate it if he just left me alone. He stepped back and asked me, what's your problem? I told him if his friend was anything like him then I really have zero interest. As I walked away he said, no wonder you're single. When I told all this to my roommate bestie they told me my reaction was extreme and that I was the AH in the scenario. I felt he was out of line and doubled down. The following day I told our manager what happened and that the whole event made me uncomfortable. The manager had a coach and counsel talk with my coworker. That was yesterday. My coworker has been radio silent with me ever since. I expected he'd apologize, but nothing. The manager and I are friends outside of work. She knows I'm gay. When I asked her how the talk went, she told me I should have heard him out. I was confused and asked what she meant. Turns out he wanted to set me up with his sister. How did he know I was gay? He told our manager it was the Xena Warrior Princess screensaver on my desktop and his gaydar from growing up with two lesbian sisters. She knows this employee somewhat well and gave me his sister's name and said to check her out on Instagram. She's a 10. Walks that fine line between butch and femme perfectly and looks very liberal like myself. Now I feel bad because not only did I miss out on possibly meeting someone, but I was beginning to think I was indeed the AH and he just caught me at a bad time. I've always had issues interacting with men. The next day I planned on apologizing, but he put in a shift change request and got moved to second shift. I have his phone number, but I've been blocked. So, Reddit. Was I the AH here? Edit 1, I've accepted I'm a huge AH. The only way I know how to reach him is through work email. I sent him a message apologizing and asked if we could talk. Second edit, coworker had no interest in talking. I reached out to his sister on Instagram regardless. We've been chatting. I got her digits. She has no idea who I am and says she doesn't talk to her family much about her love life. So I'm gonna see where it goes and cross that blown up bridge somehow when I get to it. We've been talking non-stop since I hit her up, so I think I'm in. Update the sister and I started talking quite a bit after I reached out to her. I didn't tell her who I was. After a few days it became pretty clear I'd fucked up massively. There was genuine chemistry between us. She wanted to meet in person. I was getting the feels. She was getting the feels. I had to come clean. I told her who I was. I told her what had happened between her brother and me. It didn't go well. She said she needed space. She blocked me. Maybe she'll unblock me, maybe she won't. Her brother did send me a text saying he appreciated me being honest with her despite being pissed I reached out to her. I apologized to him again. I told my manager I was out of line with my coworker and wanted my complaint retracted. All in all, I got what was coming to me. I'm working on being a better person. I honestly don't know how it even got to that point or why I acted so crazy. Hopefully I can make amends with both of them in the future. Top comment on the update, all I can say is OP needs to leave the family alone. Very shady to go after the sister behind the brother's back after what she did. Good for sister for blocking her. OP responds, I am leaving them alone and backing off. Thank you for joining me today. Don't forget to connect with each other in the comments below. Until next time, be kind, be curious, and I'll catch you in the next video. Until then, Corner Stories signing off.